Okay, this is for those people who think they're pretty awesome and can record their own thing. First thing, if you want to get really good at it, go to this website. You can see that there are some training videos here, a whole bunch of those. So that's the ones that I've used to learn how to use it. It's very good, very in-depth. That's about 80 minutes of videos. They're about 10 minutes each. For the slightly quicker version, I'll get rid of that. And here we are with that file. First thing to do is make sure, for goodness sakes, you don't muck around with the main church one. So file, new show. Don't want to save changes. No. I'll give this a short name, I don't know, Justin's test. Can I say Justine's test? Justin's test. Alright. So here we are. It's thinking about life. Over here, we can see we're in Connect Universe. So this is where we connect our lights. So over here, I'm going to search for flood light because I want to turn the house lights on. So here's a generic type of floodlight here. I'm going to drag that over to, what is it? It's 2 and 3 and I think the other one's here 7 and 8, is it? 8 and 9. 8 and 9. So that's our house light stuff. Then we want to add in some Fresnels. Or Fresnel. A generic Fresnel will do fine. So we've got some on 5 and 6 and 11 and 12. And then all our LEDs are from Doortron. So if you spell it over there, Doortron. So the ones up on the bar are these ones here. So we've got 8 of those. So I'm going to go down here. We've got 8. And they start from DMX address 13. I'm going to hit patch. And that's going to do that. And then we also have these ones on the floor. So it depends how many floor ones you've got. I've got 4. I'm putting 4 in. And they start from 64. So that needs to match. This all needs to match your light setup. So you'll have to come and see me if you want to know what to do there. Anyway, patch. Great. That's all set up and ready to go. You might want to just check that your USB is all flashing and working like we've done on some other videos. I don't want to go to console. That's this one. I go to the next one, the fixture chooser. So the first thing to see here is this one here is all live. So whatever you do here, if you go and grab this intensity, it should be working in the room with you. So that's the first thing. Make sure that little box is off, that causes problems later. And you should better get these lights and grab the intensity. Clear all that. I hit release because I want to get rid of all that. I want to make a new thing. So I hit. Well, that should be doing it. Oh, it's not because it's live. That's why. There we go. So I'm going to make a new queue. So that's a queue is like some sort of scene or something. So I go new, and you can see up it pops. Make sure this thing here is selected like it is now. Use this link button. That's really important because otherwise you cause yourself problems. So I'm just going to make myself a nice little house lights turning on. I'm going to choose, I don't know, 50%. That's great. I'm going to call this one here, house lights. Well, I'm just going to call it house because it's short is good. And also, so that's my queue. I also need to do my queue list name. So I'm going to call my queue list house as well. And I go, okay, done. Now you should be able to play it and it will play, but it doesn't really go down, so it doesn't really help you on here. So I'm going to go now back to my console. I'm going to go and grab my house lights and I'm going to drag them over here. And now when I hit play, I'll have house lights, and if I press Option and R, that'll release them and turn them off. So you can do that with any of those lights there. The same thing happens for your Fresnels here. Make sure you do a new one for each time. So maybe I'll do that. I'll do it again. Here's a new one. So I'm going to release everything. Do a new one. I'm going to call this one my Fresnels. So I want to turn these Fresnels. I want these flat out. Light up the stage. This can be called white stage. I'm going to do the properties. White stage. That's looking all pretty good. And I go back to my console, and I'm going to drag my white stage over here, and I can play it. Easy. Back here again. So release everything. New queue. This time I want to make these lights some sort of colour, so I'm going to grab my park hands, or I could just click on that. I'm going to make them, I don't know, blue. Let's call it blue. And I call this blue. I give it a name. Blue. Okay, same thing we've done before. Back in here, grab your blue, drag it over. It's pretty easy, and you can see if I zoom out, you can see I've got my floor lights down here as well, and I can do something. So if I wanted to do something. Now, that's all pretty easy. The only next bit of trickiness that you can do here is if I release everything again, I go new, and I'm going to add some sort of automated light. So I'll do an effects first. So I'm going to grab these lights down here. I'm going to do an effect. So down here, I'm going to choose, let's do I like this, where is mirror intensity? Intensity mirror. This is a really cool effect. I like that one. You can see that's going. So now this one here is the start. I made the start effects. And what I need to do is make a stop effects. So I come over here to plus. You can see that plays into this one here. So now on this one, I'm going to call this stop effects. And I'm going to do two things. On one, I'm going to go tools, stop smart effects. I'm going to do that again because it didn't quite do it. Sometimes it needs a couple of things. Now you can see here, this has stopped my effect down here, but it's made it all white. And I don't want it all white, so I'm going to go over here. I'm going to turn this intensity down. So now I have stopped the effect as well as turned it down. So if I now go back to my first one, so I'm going to hit play. That's going to start my effect. Perfect. And then I hit stop, and it's going to stop the effect, and it's going to fade it out. I'm going to give that a name. I don't know. FX1. Creative, isn't it? Drag that over here. Grab FX1. And I can hit play again. And you can see in here, just there, see it says start and stop. So at the moment I've played start and then stop. It'll stop it. And you can also just release it. And there's also, that's a jump forward and jump, all these other ones. If you use shift and command and option. Alright, let's do another one. Getting a bit more excited here. If you want to have a lot of fun, you can select, I'm going to select all of these. I'm going to make them, I don't know, let's make that one red. Make this one blue. Alright, and we call this red blue. I make another one, another Q, and I'm going to make this blue red. This one, blue, red, like so. And I'm going to call this blue red. Make sure your label stuff gets too confusing. So now this is going to switch. It's going to go red blue, blue red. It's very basic, but you get the idea. A couple of things you can do here. So you can make this go on forever. Like you can make this 100 things long. If you're doing like a soundtrack to a show, you could make this really long. If I make this one here, if I click down here, oops, I can make that a follow, which means it automatically follows on from the one before. And this, the start one, is automatically follow on from the start of the one before. So this one is probably the most common one. So now that's just going to play through both. So it's going to. Now what you could do as well is you could make it follow for both. I'm going to have to stop because there's people here. And this will just play forever now until you release it back in the console. And lastly, the one last thing I'll show you is in here in the timing, you can make sure you've selected one. So let's say I'm on this one here. You can select if it's going to start or fade. So you can see this is all fading, but if I was to make these all square, they're going to snap, which might be more appropriate sometimes. Right, make sure you save it. Make sure, for the life of me, you don't mess around with someone else's one. Make sure you're up here on the right thing. And I reckon that's about as much as you need to know. If you need to know more than that, go watch the videos on the Jan's training site. There's a lot more it can do, but that sort of gets you started. Oh, I'll show you one more thing. Here, console. You can choose yourself a bigger console, because clearly you might run out of space on that little one there, mightn't you? You're going to do 4 things. Okay,